It's 7 a.m. I'm standing in my backyard with a half-finished coffee, staring at a crime scene. Yesterday, that spot was home to my 70-year-old giant oak tree. The same one that shaded 3 generations of my family, survived every storm since the 1950s, hosted countless bird nests, and made the whole yard feel like a private forest. Kids used to climb it. Neighbors asked for photos under it. Real estate agents literally wrote "mature oak centerpiece" in the listing when I bought the house. This morning? Nothing. Just a fresh, brutal stump, sawdust everywhere like yellow snow, and a cheap HOA notice stapled to my fence. Hazardous tree removed, safety violation corrected, $1,500 fine issued for noncompliance. Contact office within 7 days. Hazardous. That word kept bouncing in my head while my blood pressure hit new records. Hazardous? The tree that never dropped a single dangerous limb in 25 years I've lived here? The one arborist certified as structurally sound just last spring? I called the HOA hotline. Busy signal. Called again. Same thing. So I started digging. Old emails, property records, photos, everything. That's when I found the folder I'd almost forgotten about. Back in 2018, a university botanist had come through the neighborhood doing a heritage tree inventory. He tagged my oak as a specimen tree of exceptional value. They measured it. 48-inch diameter at breast height, 110 feet tall, crown spread over 90 feet. Historical photos showed it already massive in black and white shots from the 1960s. The report even noted it was likely planted around 1954 by the original landowner, a retired forestry professor.
And the kicker?
The appraisal section. Because of its age, size, species rarity in the area, and documented historical significance, the estimated replacement plus cultural plus ecological value came in at $9.8 million. Yes, million. With an M. I stood there holding that faded printout, heart hammering, while the HOA's maintenance crew was probably still eating donuts somewhere thinking they just removed some old tree. I grabbed my keys, the appraisal papers, every photo and certificate I had, and drove straight to their office. The receptionist looked up, smiled that fake customer service smile, and said, "How can I help you today, sir?" I laid the stack on the counter, tapped the top page, and said calmly, "Your crew just cut down a $10 million tree. Without permission. Without an arborist report. Without even notifying me. And you sent me a fine." Her smile vanished. The room got so quiet I could hear the air conditioning click on. A guy in a polo shirt, probably the field manager, came out from the back, saw my face, saw the papers, and literally turned gray. "Sir, we thought it was just an overgrown tree posing a risk to the power lines." I leaned in. Power lines are 40 feet away. The tree was healthy. And it's on the State Heritage Registry. You just destroyed something irreplaceable, and you're about to learn exactly how expensive that mistake is. He started stammering apologies, offering to discuss reimbursement for the removal, like $2,000 would fix this. I just smiled, picked up my papers, and walked out. Because this wasn't over. Not even close. My lawyer was already on the phone, the State Arborist Division had been emailed photos of the stump, and I just filed an emergency injunction to stop them from touching anything else on my property. The real war was only beginning. The lawyer's office smelled like old books and fresh coffee, exactly the kind of place where multi-million-dollar revenge gets planned. She was already waiting when I walked in, glasses low on her nose, scrolling through the photos I'd emailed her on the way over. Her name was Elena Vasquez, former prosecutor turned civil litigator, the kind of attorney who made HOA board members sweat through their golf shirts just by showing up. She didn't even look up at first, just kept swiping. 70 years old. 48-inch DBH. Heritage designation confirmed by the State Forestry Department in 2018. Appraisal updated last year at $9.8 million using the trunk formula method, adjusted for historical and ecological multipliers. She finally glanced at me over her frames. "You didn't tell me it was this bad." I didn't know how bad until this morning. She slid a legal pad toward me. "Sign here. Retainer agreement. I'm taking this on contingency plus expenses." We're not asking for a settlement. We're asking for blood. I signed. By noon, she had already filed an emergency temporary restraining order in Superior Court to freeze any further HOA maintenance on my property or anyone else's in the subdivision, sent a preservation of evidence letter to the HOA demanding they immediately cease destruction of the stump, sawdust, logs, and any internal records related to the decision. Requested the county sheriff's office to treat the site as a potential crime scene. Unauthorized destruction of protected heritage tree equals felony-level vandalism in this state under the new statute. Pull the HOA's insurance declarations page from public filings. Their general liability carrier had a $2 million per occurrence limit.
Cute.
She leaned back. They're going to try to lowball you hard in the next 48 hours. Expect a call from their attorney offering maybe $50,000 to make this go away quietly. Maybe they'll throw in waiving your $1,500 fine like it's a favor. I laughed. It came out darker than I meant. Elena didn't laugh. When they call, and they will, do not say a single word about value, damages, or settlement. Just tell them to direct all communication to me. One slip, and they'll use it against us. My phone buzzed right then. Unknown number. Local area code. I showed her the screen. She nodded. Answer.
Speakerphone.
Say exactly what I just told you. I hit accept. Mr. Fayaz? This is Greg Harlan, General Counsel for Ridgeview Homeowners Association. I understand there's been a misunderstanding this morning. I glanced at Elena. She mouthed short.
Cold.
Yeah, there has. A nervous throat clear on the other end. Look, obviously we regret the removal. Our contractor misread the site plan. We're prepared to discuss fair compensation for the tree and any inconvenience. Mr. Harlan. I cut in, voice flat. All communication goes through my attorney now. Elena Vasquez. You have her contact.
Goodbye.
I hung up before he could finish the word, but Elena grinned for the first time. Good boy. That afternoon, the neighborhood group chat exploded. Neighbors posting photos of the empty spot in my yard. Some angry, some confused. A few quietly thrilled because they'd always hated how the tree dropped acorns on their pristine lawns. One lady wrote, "Finally, that thing was an eyesore and a squirrel highway." Another replied, "You realize that tree was worth more than your entire house, right?" Silence for about 30 seconds. Then the speculation started. Is he suing? Did they really cut a $10 million tree? I heard it's on the heritage list. HOA is screwed, lol. I didn't respond.
Didn't need to.
The rumor mill was doing the work for me. By evening, the local news station had picked up a tip. Someone, maybe a neighbor, maybe the arborist who originally appraised it, had sent them the heritage tree certificate and a photo of the stump. The headline went live at 6 p.m. Heritage oak valued at nearly $10 million cut down by HOA. Homeowner vows legal action. My phone started ringing off the hook. Reporters. More neighbors. Even a podcast host who does HOA horror stories. I ignored them all. Because tomorrow morning the real fun began. Elena had scheduled an on-site inspection with 3 independent certified arborists, a state heritage tree official, a forensic tree removal expert. Yes, that's a real job. And best of all, the HOA's own insurance adjuster, who'd been subpoenaed to attend. They were going to stand right there in my backyard, staring at that fresh stump, while experts explained in detail exactly how much they'd just destroyed. And I was going to record every second of it. Legally, of course. The next morning dawned gray and heavy, like the sky itself knew what was coming. My backyard looked like a forensic dig site. Yellow caution tape strung between stakes, tripods with cameras, measuring tapes stretched across the stump's diameter, and a small crowd of experts in high-vis vests murmuring in low voices. The HOA had sent their full delegation: Greg Harlan the lawyer, the nervous field manager, 2 board members trying to look official in polo shirts, and their insurance adjuster, a tired-looking woman in her 50s clutching a clipboard like a shield. Elena stood beside me, arms crossed, sunglasses on even though the sun hadn't broken through yet. She hadn't said much since we arrived. She didn't need to. Her presence was the statement. The state heritage officer, a wiry woman named Dr. Patel, knelt by the stump first. She ran her fingers over the clean-cut rings, counting them aloud for the record. 72 growth rings. Confirmed planting circa 1954. No sign of rot, disease, or structural compromise in the visible cross-section. She looked up at the HOA group. This was not hazardous. This was exemplary. The forensic arborist went next. He set up a laser scanner, mapped the missing crown in 3D, then pulled up old drone photos from my files on his tablet. Crown spread was 92 feet at time of removal. Biomass estimate, 18.4 tons. Carbon sequestration value over its lifetime exceeds $1.2 million alone. Replacement cost using current nursery stock for a tree even half this size? North of $400,000 before labor and transport. But you can't replace heritage. The insurance adjuster's face kept getting paler with each expert's turn. When the university botanist who'd done the original appraisal arrived and calmly restated the $9.8 million figure, now adjusted upward to $10.4 million with updated ecological multipliers, the HOA board member on the left actually swayed like he might faint. Elena finally spoke. Her voice cut through the murmurs like a blade. Gentleman and lady, let's be very clear. Your articles of incorporation require written notice and a 30-day appeal period before any tree removal classified as hazardous. You provided neither. You had no certified arborist report. You violated your own covenants, the county tree ordinance, and the state heritage statute. This is not negligence. This is willful destruction of protected property. Greg Harlan tried to interrupt. We're prepared to discuss. No, Elena said. You're prepared to listen. She handed each of them a thick packet. Demand letter. Statutory penalties schedule. Civil penalties under the Heritage Act. Up to triple damages. Punitive damages request. $15 million. Attorney fees. Court costs. And, buried on page 17, a notice of intent to seek class action certification if any other protected trees in the subdivision had been quietly removed without records. The adjuster flipped to the insurance page and whispered something to Harlan. His shoulders dropped. By afternoon, the news vans had arrived. Channel 5, the local NBC affiliate, set up right at the curb. Neighbors gathered behind the tape, phones out. Someone started a chant. Pay the man. Pay the man. It wasn't clever, but it caught on. I didn't speak to the cameras. Elena did. Short, devastating soundbite. This HOA treated a 70-year-old heritage tree like yard waste. They're about to learn it was worth more than most of their portfolios combined. That evening, the HOA board called an emergency meeting. By 9 p.m., their website had a pinned statement. We deeply regret the unauthorized removal, full cooperation with authorities committed to making the homeowner whole. Whole was the word they used.
Cute.
2 weeks later, the first settlement offer landed. $2.1 million cash, plus replanting with 5 mature oaks at their expense, fine waived, and a public apology in the neighborhood newsletter. Elena laughed when she read it. They think they can buy silence for $2 million? We counter at $12 million plus injunctive relief barring them from touching any tree over 24 inches DBH without third-party certification for the next 10 years. They countered again. $4.8 million. We didn't budge. Month 3. Discovery phase. Their internal email surfaced. One from the field manager to the board. Trees big but ugly, resident never complains, let's just take it out before anyone notices. Another from a board member. Insurance will cover it. Call it hazardous and move on. The judge read those aloud at the summary judgment hearing. The HOA's new lawyer looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him. Month 5. Mediation. The insurance company, now facing bad faith exposure, forced their hand. Final number on the table before we even sat down. $10.4 million cash, structured over 3 years to avoid tax bombs, plus $1.2 million in attorney fees, replanting fund, and a permanent injunction on the covenants. Elena slid the draft across the conference table.
Sign.
Or we go to trial and your emails become public record. Harlan signed, hands shaking. I didn't smile when the check cleared. I didn't celebrate. I just walked back to the backyard one quiet Saturday morning, stood where the stump used to be, and looked at the 5 young oaks they'd planted in a semicircle. Nice trees, but babies compared to what was lost. A squirrel ran up one of them, paused, chattered at me like it was complaining about the downgrade. I laughed for the first time in months. Then I planted something else in the center, a tiny coast live oak sapling I'd sourced from the same nursery the original tree probably came from decades ago. I watered it, mulched it, and drove a small brass plaque into the ground beside it. In memory of the grandfather oak. 1954 to 2025. They thought you were just a tree. I stepped back, dusted dirt from my hands, and whispered to the sapling.
Grow slow, old man.
We've got all the time in the world now.